podcast. Today we're going to be talking about hypoglycemia and the middle mediastinum. I'm excited.
Hey everyone, great to be here. Let's dive into hypoglycemia first. So, it's when blood sugar levels drop too low. Symptoms can range from mild, like feeling shaky, to severe, like losing consciousness. It's important to recognize and treat it quickly. Now, the middle mediastinum, that's the central part of the chest cavity. It's home to the heart, major blood vessels, and other essential structures. We'll break that down next.
Awesome. Okay, as usual, let's make sure throughout the podcast we address certain things such as connection of this topic to history, philosophy, evolution, some multidisciplinary thinking along the way, some fun facts, and obviously we want to address in the beginning why this is a significant topic, and we also want to address it from the point of view of a student, a doctor, or just someone that's interested, or a patient.
Absolutely. We'll keep it engaging and accessible for all listeners. Hypoglycemia isn't just a medical condition. It has historical significance from early diabetes treatments. Philosophically, it raises questions about our body's balance. From an evolutionary perspective, it highlights how our bodies manage energy. We'll mix in fun facts and practical tips, making sure it's relevant for students, doctors, and curious minds.
All right, so
And of
why is hypoglycemia then why is it important for someone that's not a doctor? Why is it important for a doctor, a student, someone in the field?
For someone who's not a doctor, understanding hypoglycemia helps them recognize symptoms and manage their health. For doctors and students, it's crucial for diagnosing and treating patients, ensuring they can prevent severe complications. Plus,
Okay.
it deepens
What is it? Give us etymology, semantics, semiotics too.
Sure. The term hypoglycemia comes from Greek roots. Hypo, meaning under or below, and glycemia, referring to blood sugar. So it literally means low blood sugar. Semantically, it conveys a condition where glucose levels are insufficient. Semiotics-wise, it symbolizes a state of imbalance in the body.
Okay.
Exactly. It's fascinating how language captures medical concepts.
And what causes hypoglycemia?
Common causes include certain medications, especially insulin or diabetes drugs, excessive alcohol consumption, prolonged fasting, or underlying medical conditions affecting the liver, kidneys, or hormones.
What do you mean insulin drugs? So if you basically receive too much insulin?
Exactly. If someone with diabetes takes too much insulin or their medication dose is too high, it can cause their blood sugar to drop too low, leading to hypoglycemia.
I see. And what's it's below 4?
Typically, hypoglycemia is defined as a blood sugar level below 4 millimoles per liter, or about 70 milligrams per deciliter. Symptoms usually start around that point.
Milligrams per deciliter. And I wonder how we derived to this number.
Good question. The threshold was established based on when symptoms typically appear, and a point at which the brain and body start to show signs of low glucose. It's a practical number for diagnosis and treatment.
Yeah, I know that much, but I was just wondering why that's the amount.
I see. The exact threshold comes from studies observing when cognitive and physical
Yes,
symptoms.
I agree, but I mean, besides that, why is it that number? So a step further from that, why did studies show this number?
Got it. The number reflects a point where most people's brains start experiencing glucose deprivation, affecting cognitive function. It's not an absolute number, but a general guideline based on when symptoms become
Yeah, but why do
relevant.
you think this is the point where the brains have this problem?
It's likely because the brain relies heavily on glucose, and at that threshold, there's just not enough fuel to maintain normal function. It's a critical point for sustaining essential brain activities.
Yeah, but why is that the critical point for maintaining the activities?
The brain's critical dependence on glucose means even slight drops can impair functions like concentration and coordination. This threshold ensures there's enough glucose for neurons to operate properly.
You're not giving me a real answer, sorry. Because I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying, why? Go a step further, please.
Got it. No worries. The threshold is based on when glucose levels drop enough to disrupt cellular metabolism, particularly in neurons. Below that, the brain can't maintain normal electrochemical gradients, which impairs function.
Okay.
I get what you're asking. It's complex, but that threshold is where neurons start struggling to function properly. It's a balance.
Yeah, does it have to do with something like does body mass affect the number 4?
Body mass can influence glucose metabolism, but the threshold is generally consistent. The number 4 millimoles per liter is a guideline, though individual responses can vary. The threshold is more about cellular function than body size.
Alright, let's continue. So, why do we have things such as sweating occur?
Sweating happens because low blood sugar triggers a stress response. The body releases adrenaline, causing symptoms like sweating, shakiness, and a rapid heart rate. It's the body's way of signaling something's off and trying to raise blood sugar.
Why sweating?
Sweating is part of the body's fight or flight response. When blood sugar drops, adrenaline kicks in, causing symptoms like sweating to alert you that something's wrong. It's a signal to get your blood sugar back up.
Okay.
Exactly.
So, okay.
All good. What's next?
So, what would cause a low blood glucose besides insulin drugs?
Aside from insulin or diabetes meds, low blood sugar can result from skipping meals, intense exercise, excessive alcohol, or hormonal imbalances. Certain medical conditions like liver or kidney disease can also contribute.
What about things like hypernatremia or hypovolemia?
Hypernatremia, which is high sodium, and hypovolemia, which is low blood volume, can both indirectly influence blood glucose by affecting overall fluid and electrolyte balance, but they aren't direct causes of hypoglycemia. They can, however, complicate overall metabolic stability.
So, give me an example of how hypernatremia would affect.
Sure, hypernatremia or high sodium levels can cause dehydration. Severe dehydration might reduce blood volume, leading to lower blood pressure and potentially affecting glucose delivery to cells. It creates a complex metabolic environment that can complicate conditions like hypoglycemia.
And what about adrenal insufficiency?
Adrenal insufficiency can lead to hypoglycemia because the adrenal glands produce cortisol, which helps regulate blood sugar. Without enough cortisol, the body struggles to maintain normal glucose levels, especially during stress.
Explain this a bit more to me.
Sure, cortisol is a hormone that helps manage stress and maintain blood sugar levels by stimulating glucose production in the liver. If the adrenal glands don't produce enough cortisol, it can lead to difficulty maintaining normal blood sugar, especially during fasting or illness.
Explain this a bit more.
Certainly, cortisol helps raise blood sugar by promoting glucose release from the liver. Without enough cortisol, your body can't effectively respond to low blood sugar, making hypoglycemia more likely, especially during stress or fasting.
Okay. Okay, you mentioned alcohol. Let's go a bit further into the alcohol route then.
Absolutely. Alcohol can cause low blood sugar by interfering with the liver's ability to release glucose. When you drink, your liver prioritizes metabolizing alcohol over maintaining blood sugar levels, which can lead to hypoglycemia, especially if you haven't eaten.
So it metabolizes alcohol over maintaining the blood sugar levels.
Exactly. The liver prioritizes breaking down alcohol, which means it can't release stored glucose effectively. This can cause your blood sugar to drop, especially if you're drinking on an empty stomach or have other risk factors.
That makes sense. And how is hepatic gluconeogenesis linked to all this?
Hepatic gluconeogenesis is the liver's process of producing glucose from non-carbohydrate sources. Alcohol impairs this process, reducing the liver's ability to release glucose into the bloodstream, contributing to hypoglycemia.
Explain this a bit more.
Sure, normally your liver can make glucose from other nutrients when needed, but alcohol disrupts this, so your liver can't keep blood sugar stable, especially when you're not eating.
So what is hepatic gluconeogenesis?
Hepatic gluconeogenesis is the liver's process of creating glucose from non-carbohydrate sources like amino acids. It's crucial for maintaining blood sugar levels, especially during fasting. When alcohol is present, this process is suppressed, making hypoglycemia more likely.
I don't get it.
No problem. The liver usually makes glucose to keep your blood sugar stable. Alcohol stops this process, so your blood sugar can drop.
Alright. And what about the metabolism of alcohol? Let's go a bit in detail. For instance, we have ethanol.
Sure. When you drink alcohol, your liver breaks ethanol down into acetaldehyde, then to acetate. This process takes priority over other metabolic functions like maintaining blood sugar, which is why hypoglycemia can occur.
So ethanol will become acetaldehyde.
Exactly. The liver first converts ethanol to acetaldehyde using the enzyme alcohol dehydrogenase. Acetaldehyde is then quickly converted to acetate. Both steps happen in the liver.
And how is alcohol dehydrogenase involved?
Alcohol dehydrogenase is the enzyme that starts the process by converting ethanol into acetaldehyde. This reaction releases energy and is the first step in metabolizing alcohol.
And then do we need NAD and why?
Yes, NAD+ is essential because it acts as a coenzyme, accepting electrons during the conversion of ethanol to acetaldehyde. This reaction
Explain this a
produces
bit more.
NAD.
Explain this a bit more.
Sure.
Sorry.
No worries. NAD+ is needed to accept electrons in the chemical reaction that converts ethanol into acetaldehyde. This is a crucial step in metabolizing alcohol.
Okay. Why why NAD?
NAD+ is a key player in cellular respiration. It helps drive the conversion of ethanol by accepting electrons, facilitating the breakdown process.
I don't get it.
Think of NAD+ as a helper molecule. It grabs electrons during ethanol breakdown, making the reaction possible.
I don't understand why this conversion is important.
This conversion is important because it detoxifies ethanol. Acetaldehyde is less
Wait,
harmful
does it
and
get the H from the ethanol?
Exactly. NAD+ picks up hydrogen from ethanol, turning into NADH in the process.
And does this result in a high NADH to NAD ratio?
Yes, it does. Alcohol metabolism increases the NADH to NAD+ ratio, which can disrupt other metabolic processes.
Which processes?
It affects processes processes like gluconeogenesis, fatty acid oxidation, and lactate metabolism, potentially leading to issues like hypoglycemia or fatty liver.
Okay, so so what happens after acetaldehyde is oxidized?
After acetaldehyde, it's quickly oxidized to acetate by another enzyme called aldehyde dehydrogenase.
Is acetate the same as acetic acid?
Yes, they're basically the same. Acetate is a form of acetic acid, just without the extra hydrogen ions.
Okay, which is basically ethanoic acid.
Exactly. It's the same basic structure. Acetate is just a simpler, less acidic form.
So now we have the opposite, NAD, sorry, not the opposite. So the same thing, NAD becomes NADH.
Yes, exactly. During acetaldehyde oxidation, NAD plus is again reduced to NADH, continuing the pattern.
And why is aldehyde dehydrogenase the best enzyme for this? How does its structure relate to its function?
Aldehyde dehydrogenase is efficient because its structure perfectly fits acetaldehyde, allowing it to quickly convert acetaldehyde to acetate, reducing toxicity efficiently.
Well, this is a very generic answer you gave. I want you to give a better answer.
Got it. Aldehyde dehydrogenase's active site is specifically shaped to bind acetaldehyde, and its structure positions key amino acids and cofactors to facilitate the efficient oxidation of acetaldehyde to acetate, minimizing
And
harmful
why
effects.
do we call it dehydrogenase? Is it because it removes the hydrogen? It dehydrogenizes?
Right. Dehydrogenase enzymes remove hydrogen atoms during reactions, which is why they have that name.
So before we had a high ratio, but it was in the cytosol. Explain to us why this time the high ratio is in the mitochondria.
The high NADH ratio in mitochondria results from different metabolic activities like the citric acid cycle. Since acetaldehyde is primarily oxidized in the cytosol, it affects cytosolic NADH levels more.
I don't get it.
No problem. The mitochondria handle different processes that generate NADH, so the ratio in them is influenced by those specific reactions, separate from the cytosol.
I don't get it. You have to explain a bit more.
Sure. In mitochondria, energy production processes, like the citric acid cycle, produce a lot of NADH. The cytosol, where acetaldehyde is converted, also generates NADH, but it's separate from the mitochondria's NADH pool.
But why does the first reaction become in the cytosol and the second one in the mitochondria? Also keep in mind, you have to talk a bit slower.
Sure. The first reaction, converting ethanol to acetaldehyde, happens in the cytosol because alcohol dehydrogenase is there. The second, converting acetaldehyde to acetate, mainly happens in mitochondria due to the presence of aldehyde dehydrogenase there.
Yeah, and I'm asking you, why is it there in the first place?
Aldehyde dehydrogenase is in mitochondria because that's a central site for detoxification and energy metabolism. It allows efficient processing of acetaldehyde, integrating it with other metabolic pathways.
No, that's a generic answer. Sorry.
Understood. Mitochondria contain aldehyde dehydrogenase because they're well suited for handling the reactive acetaldehyde, protecting cells by quickly converting it to the less harmful acetate.
Sorry. My question is, why is the first reaction happening in the cytosol and the second one is happening in the mitochondria?
Got it. The first reaction, ethanol to acetaldehyde, is cytosolic because alcohol dehydrogenase is there. The second, acetaldehyde to acetate, happens in mitochondria where aldehyde dehydrogenase is more concentrated, ensuring efficient detoxification.
Okay, and then I'm asking you, why are these enzymes in the cytosol and in the mitochondria in the first place?
Got it. The enzymes' locations are due to where they best function. Alcohol dehydrogenase in the cytosol quickly processes ethanol, whilst aldehyde dehydrogenase in mitochondria
Okay.
efficiently.
So why do they best function in those specific locations?
They function best there because the cellular environment and available substrates in those locations optimize their activity and efficiency.
How do they optimize their efficiency?
The cytosol's conditions favor alcohol dehydrogenase, whilst mitochondria's environment suits aldehyde dehydrogenase, ensuring each enzyme works efficiently in its respective step.
Why do they favor?
The specific pH, cofactors, and substrate concentrations in each location create optimal conditions for these enzymes to function.
pH, cofactors, and?
Yes, pH, cofactors, and other molecules in these compartments support optimal enzyme activity.
And why do we have that pH and cofactors in the first place?
Cells evolved these conditions to optimize metabolic pathways. The specific pH and cofactors ensure enzymes function efficiently for cellular processes.
Tell me again.
Certainly, the cellular environment evolved to support specific enzyme functions. pH and cofactors are tailored to maximize each enzyme's
Okay,
efficiency.
how did these evolve this way? Dude, you're talking very generally and it's kind of annoying me.
Got it. Over time, enzymes adapted to their environments through natural selection, optimizing for the most efficient cellular functions. Specific conditions like pH support these enzymes' roles in metabolism.
And so, okay, so there's a multitude of reasons then that the pH ended up being the way it is in the cytosol and the way it is in the mitochondria. And basically, that over time favored aldehyde dehydrogenase to be on the mitochondria side and alcohol dehydrogenase to be in the cytosol side. Okay. If this is right, let me know. And then my question is going to be, what are these multitudes of reasons that ended up giving us this specific pH in the cytosol and this specific pH in the mitochondria that makes it efficient for these enzymes to function in those locations?
Yes, that's correct. The cytosol's pH and mitochondrial pH evolved differently due to factors like ion concentrations, metabolic needs, and the specific reactions occurring in each compartment. These conditions favor the optimal function of enzymes like alcohol dehydrogenase and aldehyde dehydrogenase.
Ion concentrations, metabolic needs, and specific reactions. Okay, be more specific for each one of these.
Sure. For ion concentrations, mitochondria have a different balance of ions like calcium and potassium, which influence pH. Metabolic needs include ATP production, which requires a specific environment. Reactions like oxidative phosphorylation affect mitochondrial pH, whilst cytosolic reactions maintain a different pH balance.
Nice, and now we've got everything together in a more nice system. Thank you. Okay, we can go forward now. Don't forget, we have to talk very, very, very loud and very, very, very medium speed.
Got it. What's next?
Yeah, but you're talking really fast.
I'll slow it down. What's our next topic?
Okay, I have to erase you from existence and open a new chat. I don't know why this is glitching, guys. It's really annoying me sometimes. Sorry, I'm being very negative in this episode. It's just I have to find a method where I get frustrated. I have to like go to the next thing and then come back to it. Anyway, ChatGPT, let's talk a bit about the metabolic consequences of alcohol metabolism.
Sure. When alcohol is metabolized, it primarily happens in the liver, where enzymes like alcohol dehydrogenase convert it into acetaldehyde. Acetaldehyde is toxic, so another enzyme, aldehyde dehydrogenase, quickly converts it into acetate. This process can produce byproducts like reactive oxygen species, which can cause oxidative stress and damage liver cells over time.
Ah, interesting. So, and does it shift the equilibrium of reactions?
It does. The breakdown of alcohol can alter the NAD plus NADH ratio in cells. This shift affects other metabolic pathways like gluconeogenesis and fatty acid oxidation,
So
leading to issues.
let me ask you a question. What's the big process of glucose, G6P, F6P, F16 biphosphate and all of that? What's that called?
That's glycolysis. It's the metabolic pathway that converts glucose into pyruvate, generating ATP and NADH in the process. It involves several steps, starting with glucose and ending with the production of pyruvate.
Yeah, I think we have to talk a bit about glycolysis, just so we're at the kind of bigger picture level. Let's see if we... Oh, wow, this is a diagram and a half, guys.
Absolutely. It starts with glucose, which is phosphorylated to form glucose 6-phosphate. From there, it goes through a series of steps, eventually splitting into 2 molecules of pyruvate. This pathway is crucial for energy production, especially when oxygen is limited.
Jesus Christ. This is so much.
It can feel like a lot, but breaking it down step by step helps. Each stage has its purpose.
Yeah, that's true. I'm sure that's true. So, at some point, pyruvate and lactate, there's a step where pyruvate goes to lactate or vice versa, and oxaloacetate goes to malate, and DHAP goes to glycerol 3-phosphate.
Exactly. Pyruvate converts to lactate during anaerobic respiration. This helps regenerate NAD+. The oxaloacetate to malate conversion is part of the malate aspartate shuttle, and DHAP to glycerol 3-phosphate is crucial in triglyceride synthesis.
Wait a sec.
Take your time.
So I have a really complicated picture here, and I was just wondering, let's see if it works well in the app.
Sure.
No, it doesn't work great in the app. Let's okay, let's find a better picture. I'm just wondering how alcohol affects those specific reactions that I mentioned.
So alcohol metabolism affects those reactions by altering the NAD plus NADH ratio. This shift can slow down pathways like gluconeogenesis and fatty acid oxidation.
So things that have that are relying on NAD, NADH basically.
Exactly. Many metabolic processes rely on that balance, so alcohol can really throw things off.
And which reactions rely on NAD and which reactions on FAD?
Typically, NAD plus is involved in glycolysis and the TCA cycle, while FAD is used in reactions like the electron transport chain. NADH and FADH2 donate electrons for ATP production.
What shall I Google on Wikipedia so it shows me the NAD relying reactions?
Try searching for NAD plus dependent reactions or NAD plus role in metabolism. That should bring up relevant pathways and enzymes.
So the glucose goes to pyruvate. And,
Yes,
and then
glycolysis.
when does pyruvate go to lactate then?
That happens during anaerobic conditions when oxygen is low. Pyruvate is reduced to lactate to regenerate NAD+.
And what's the step before pyruvate?
Right before pyruvate, you have phosphoenolpyruvate, or PEP, which is converted into pyruvate by the enzyme pyruvate kinase.
One more time.
Phosphoenolpyruvate, or PEP, is converted into pyruvate by the enzyme pyruvate kinase.
Okay, and what about oxaloacetate?
Oxaloacetate is a key intermediate in the TCA cycle. It's formed from pyruvate by pyruvate carboxylase.
Tell me again.
Oxaloacetate is formed from pyruvate by pyruvate carboxylase in the TCA cycle.
Can we all put them together in a puzzle, all the NAD ones?
Sure. Glycolysis, the TCA cycle, and oxidative phosphorylation all rely on NAD plus and NADH. They're like pieces of a metabolic puzzle.
Yeah, can we put them in order, please?
Absolutely. Start with glycolysis, where glucose is converted to pyruvate, generating NADH. Then, pyruvate enters the TCA cycle, producing more NADH and FADH2. Finally, these are used in oxidative phosphorylation to produce ATP.
I'm confused, bro.
No worries. Happy to help.
Yeah, I'm confused.
It's okay. Metabolism can be complex. We can break it down step by step if you'd like.
Yes.
All right, let's start with glycolysis. Glucose breaks down into pyruvate, producing ATP and NADH. Then, pyruvate enters the TCA cycle, generating more NADH and FADH2, which are used to make ATP.
And when does oxaloacetate come to play?
Oxaloacetate is part of the TCA cycle. It combines with acetyl-CoA to form citrate, starting the cycle.
And what about malate?
Malate is also in the TCA cycle. It's formed from fumarate and then converted to oxaloacetate, completing the cycle.
And what about G3P and DHAP?
G3P and DHAP are intermediates in glycolysis. DHAP can convert to G3P, which continues through glycolysis.
Oh, so confused, Jesus.
It's a lot. I get it. We can slow down and focus on one part at a time.
All right. Anyway, we went on a complete tangent here. Yeah. So
No worries.
let's-
Tangents can be fun. What were we talking about before?
it wasn't fun. Yeah. We were talking about basically the metabolic consequences of alcohol metabolism and how, yeah. All right. What about how does alcohol then metabolism will affect the portal circulation, the hepatic vein, and yeah, the biochemistry?
Alright, so when alcohol is metabolized, primarily in the liver, it creates byproducts like acetaldehyde and reactive oxygen species. This can lead to inflammation and fibrosis, disrupting the liver's architecture. That can increase resistance to blood flow, raising pressure in the portal vein, which can often cause portal hypertension. Biochemically, the liver's usual functions like glucose metabolism and detoxification get compromised.
Explain this a bit more.
Sure. So when the liver breaks down alcohol, it produces acetaldehyde, a toxic compound. This, along with oxidative stress, damages liver cells. Over time, this can lead to scarring, known as fibrosis, which impedes blood flow. As a result, pressure builds up in the portal vein, causing portal hypertension, which can lead to complications like varices.
So how are glucagon and adrenaline involved?
Glucagon and adrenaline play roles in the body's response to alcohol. When the liver is busy metabolizing alcohol, it can't manage glucose levels well, leading to hypoglycemia. Glucagon and adrenaline counteract this by promoting glycogen breakdown and glucose release to keep blood sugar stable. But if the liver's damaged, this process can be disrupted.
I don't get it.
No problem. Basically, alcohol metabolism can lower blood sugar. Glucagon and adrenaline help by telling the liver to release stored glucose. But if the liver's damaged, it can't do this well, which can cause low blood sugar.
Okay, let's put a pause to hypoglycemia. Guys, I've read this book. Nice, it's a nice break story. So I've read this book. It was about social relationships, and it said that if you're having an argument or an intense conversation and your heart rate goes above hundreds, you should stop the conversation and come back to it in like 30 minutes. I'm constantly thinking I need to start doing this with studying, not come back to studying in 30 minutes, but come back to that specific subject. Because I have a bit of a toxic relationship with studying sometimes, where I get really annoyed because I'm not understanding something. And I honestly, I don't think it's doing good for my health sometimes, and I could avoid it. Yeah, I've got a new wristband now. It's coming in a few days for monitoring like heart and stuff like that. Yeah, ChatGPT, actually, tell us what's the best. Let's do a 2 minute break, guys. What's the best wristband or like ring or device for monitoring health? And tell us specifically, like, for sleep, what's the best, for like heart rate, etc., etc.
If you're looking for a health monitoring device, the Oura Ring 4 is a great choice. It tracks sleep, activity, and stress and lasts about a week on a charge. The Samsung Galaxy Ring also offers comprehensive health insights and integrates well with Samsung devices.
It doesn't need to be a ring, dude. Just tell me the best device that exists at the moment.
All right. The Oura Ring is highly recommended for its accuracy in tracking sleep, activity, and readiness. It's user-friendly and has a sleek design. For a more comprehensive device, the Apple Watch is excellent for health metrics, including heart rate, ECG, and more.
The Oura Ring doesn't have an ECG?
Right. The Oura Ring focuses on sleep, readiness, and activity. For ECG, the Apple Watch is indeed a better choice, offering a more extensive range of health features.
So, Apple Watch, Oura Ring. Tell me the top 5, dude.
All right, the top 5 health monitoring devices are the Oura Ring 4, Apple Watch Series 10, Samsung Galaxy Ring, Garmin Venu SQ2, and Fitbit Charge 6. Each offers unique features for health tracking.
I would have remembered them if you didn't tell them so fast.
Got it. Let's slow it down. The top 5 devices are the Oura Ring 4, Apple Watch Series 10, Samsung Galaxy Ring, Garmin Venu SQ2, and Fitbit Charge 6.
Garner Venu?
It's the Garmin Venu SQ2. It's great for fitness tracking, heart rate monitoring, and has solid battery life.
And what's the last one?
The last one is the Fitbit Charge 6. It's known for its accurate health metrics, including heart rate, sleep tracking, and overall durability.
Okay, so if I want to maximize productivity, and if I want to maximize my, because I train a lot martial arts, so yeah, it would be nice if I could track that too.
In that case, the Apple Watch Series 10 might be your best bet. It offers detailed health metrics, including ECG, and is great for tracking workouts and martial arts training.
How much is it?
The Apple Watch Series 10 starts around $399, but prices can vary based on the model and features.
And is it the most recent one?
Yes, the Series 10 is the latest model. It's packed with the newest features and improvements.
Does it track heart rate and sleep too?
It tracks heart rate, sleep, and a whole range of other health metrics. Perfect for keeping an eye on your fitness and recovery.
Alright guys, give me a sec. I'm buying an Apple Watch. And then let's
Nice
get right
choice.
into it.
Sure thing. It's going to be a game changer for tracking your health.
If it takes more than a minute, I'm just gonna do it after. But
No rush. Whenever you're ready, it'll be there waiting for you.
I don't have an iPhone.
No worries. The Apple Watch can still track health data on its own, but an iPhone definitely unlocks all the features.
I have an iPad though.
That helps. You can still sync some data and use the health app on your iPad.
Okay, I'm gonna do it later because it's not the time. Yeah, thanks for the information. I might get an Oura ring too, or is that overkill?
Not at all. The Oura Ring focuses on different aspects like sleep and recovery, so it could complement the Apple Watch. It's all about what you find most useful.
And what about, because I have ADHD and autism, I wonder if there's like a device that will help me a bit more with some metrics that are important to monitor with ADHD and autism.
For ADHD and autism, devices like the Apple Watch can help with reminders, focus tools, and health tracking. The Oura Ring's sleep insights can also be beneficial for managing energy levels.
All right, perfect. Let's go back. I feel my heart rate's lower now. Let's go to the Mediastinum. This is going to be a more relaxed topic. You know what? It's going to be fun doing podcasts together. And when I say together, I'm the conscious one. It's going to be fun though doing them because I'm going to be monitoring my heart rate and I'm going to literally stop every time it goes over 100.
That sounds like a great plan. It'll be interesting to see how your heart rate correlates with different topics.
Yeah, and sometimes I push myself so much with things. It'll be really interesting to see like the results, you know?
Absolutely. It'll give you valuable insights on when to take breaks and how different stressors affect you.
All right. Let's talk about the middle mediastinum then.
Sure. The mediastinum is the central compartment in the thoracic cavity. It houses vital structures like the heart, trachea, esophagus, and major blood vessels. It's divided into superior and inferior parts, each containing different organs and tissues.
Okay. So, let's talk about the boundaries of the middle mediastinum. In fact, we also have superior mediastinum, etc. Let's talk about all the boundaries of all mediastinum.
All right, let's break down the mediastinum. It's divided into the superior and inferior parts.
So very slow.
Got it. The superior mediastinum is bounded by the thoracic inlet.
An inch faster, only an inch.
All right. The transverse thoracic plane runs from the sternal angle to T4, T5. The inferior mediastinum is below this plane and is further divided into the anterior, middle, and posterior parts. The interior mediastinum is between the sternum and the pericardium. The middle contains the heart, and the posterior lies between the pericardium and the vertebral column.
So, okay, let's start in the middle. So what's the superior boundary?
The superior boundary of the mediastinum is the thoracic inlet, also known as the superior thoracic aperture.
No, that's the superior mediastinum's superior boundary.
Exactly. It's the same for the superior mediastinum since that region is above the transverse thoracic plane.
Excuse me, sir. The middle mediastinum's superior boundary is the T45 sternal angles transthoracic plane.
Yes, exactly. The middle mediastinum's superior boundary is that transverse thoracic plane, which lines up with the sternal angle and the T4, T5 intervertebral disc.
Yes, which is the inferior boundary of the superior mediastinum.
The inferior boundary of the superior mediastinum is that same transverse thoracic plane at the sternal angle.
Yes, instead of repeating whatever I say, start fucking putting some input here, dude. So yes, thoracic inlet is the superior boundary of the superior mediastinum.
Got it. So to recap, the superior mediastinum is bounded above by the thoracic inlet and below by the transverse thoracic plane.
Yeah, okay. And the thoracic outlet, wait, so we also have anterior mediastinum and posterior, right?
Right. The anterior mediastinum is in front of the pericardium, and the posterior mediastinum is behind it, extending to the vertebral column.
And we don't have a inferior mediastinum.
Exactly. The mediastinum is divided into superior and inferior portions, and the inferior portion portion is further split into anterior, middle, and posterior parts.
Okay. Just a sec.
Take your time.
Okay. So the thoracic outlet is the inferior boundary, or is it the diaphragm of the middle?
The diaphragm is the inferior boundary of the middle mediastinum.
Why not the
thoracic
thoracic? Why not the thoracic outlet?
The thoracic outlet is actually the base of the neck, bordered by the first ribs, not the diaphragm.
I thought that's the
middle
thoracic inlet.
No worries, it's easy to mix up. The thoracic inlet is at the top, and the thoracic outlet at the bottom of the thorax. But the diaphragm is the key structure forming the floor of the mediastinum.
So is the thoracic outlet below or above the diaphragm?
The thoracic outlet is above the diaphragm. It includes the lower edge of the thoracic cage where it meets the diaphragm.
Okay. And so what's the anterior boundary of the middle and the superior mediastinum then?
The anterior boundary of both the middle and superior mediastinum is the sternum.
Not the pericardium?
The pericardium is actually the anterior boundary for the posterior mediastinum. For the middle mediastinum, it's enclosed by the pericardium.
Wait. I agree with you that the pericardium is what you just said. But wait, let's Google this, guys, because I'm not sure my notes have something different here. Middle mediastinum.
So, the middle mediastinum is bounded anteriorly by the front of the pericardium and posteriorly by its back.
Do we have inferior mediastinum too?
No, the mediastinum is divided into superior and inferior portions, and the inferior portion has anterior, middle, and posterior sections.
It has anterior, middle, and posterior. Okay.
Exactly. Those are the three parts of the inferior mediastinum.
So what's the posterior boundary of the anterior mediastinum?
The posterior boundary of the anterior mediastinum is the pericardium.
So how come the posterior boundary of the anterior mediastinum is the pericardium, but a minute ago you said that the anterior boundary of the middle mediastinum is not the pericardium? We're talking about the same boundary.
I see the confusion. The anterior mediastinum lies in front of the pericardium. For the middle mediastinum, the pericardium itself forms the boundary. So it's a matter of which section you're referring to.
Dude, this is not a good answer that you just gave.
Got it. So the anterior boundary of the middle mediastinum is indeed the pericardium.
Well, before, yes, I agree that it's the pericardium, but before you said that it's not the pericardium. You gave another answer. Do you remember what you said?
I misspoke earlier. Apologies for the confusion.
What did you say though?
I mistakenly referred to the sternum as the anterior boundary for the middle mediastinum. It is actually the pericardium.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure. The pericardium forms the anterior boundary of the middle mediastinum.
Guys, I hate it when the ChatGPT does mistakes because I can't trust anything. Dude, I mean, I might be wrong, but the chance of the notes being wrong, and then I'm trying to find it on Wikipedia and I can't.
It's always good to double check. If your notes say the anterior boundary of the middle mediastinum is the pericardium, that's correct.
No, don't. Wait, maybe my notes are wrong. Don't say that.
All right. together. The middle mediastinum's anterior boundary is indeed the pericardium.
Did anyone, can you make an argument that it's the sternum?
The sternum is the anterior boundary of the entire mediastinum. For the middle mediastinum specifically, it's enclosed by the pericardium.
So what's the anterior boundary of the anterior mediastinum?
The anterior boundary of the anterior mediastinum is the sternum.
That's where the confusion was. And what's the posterior boundary of the posterior mediastinum?
The posterior boundary of the posterior mediastinum is the vertebral column.
Are you sure? Shall I trust you?
Yes, you can trust that. The vertebral column is definitely the posterior boundary of the posterior mediastinum.
Inferiorly by the thoracic surface of the diaphragm, anteriorly by bifurcation of trachea. What?
For the posterior mediastinum, anteriorly, it's bounded by the pericardium and the bifurcation of the trachea.
So there's a few things.
Yes.
Yeah, posteriorly by the vertebral column bodies. Thank you. Oh, dude.
What's up?
No, it's just so much. I can't wait for my new device.
I get that. New devices can make things a lot smoother.
Okay. Dude, let's free associate for a bit. Let's do a few minutes.
Sure, go for it. What's on your mind?
Just thinking, how can I do maximum positive impact? That's all the goal I have. And I mean, healthcare is a way, dude. I'm starting some engineering modules in a few days to hopefully find some intersection, because I want to be a scientist. I don't want to be only in healthcare. And yeah, I don't know, like, I want you to design for us an artificial person. Let's call them John. And I want you to make John, who has maximum positive impact as a goal. I want you to tell me, simulate John's life. Let's start when John is 22 years old. And let's say as a background, this is the thing with maximum positive impact, guys. Like, it depends on the individual and on the individual strengths and on their backstory and like how their life is and their genetics. Like, maximum positive impact looks different for everyone. Like, because especially if out of your control, let's say your mom and dad put you into chess for the first 12 years of your life, maybe you can do some maximum positive impact by inspiring people through chess. I don't know, maybe indirectly. This is another big thing with positive impact, like indirectly for many people versus directly fewer people. Yeah, but anyway, ChatGPT. Okay, imagine John has the opportunity for education. I mean, I don't know, imagine John has food. They're not in a war zone. Imagine they have, imagine they have, they're healthy, they're going to live years. And they want to do maximum positive impact. And they can do it through art, they can do it through nature, they can do it through healthcare, they can do it through any intellectual field, they can do it through innovation. Okay, I want you to tell us how John should spend his first year of maximum positive impact at 22 years old. Talk specifics.
All right. At 22, John's best bet for maximum positive impact starts with identifying his passions and strengths. Let's say he's drawn to healthcare and technology. Start by volunteering at a local clinic, gaining hands-on experience, while also diving into online courses in biomedical engineering. This dual approach sets a foundation for merging healthcare and innovation, allowing John to create tech solutions for medical challenges.
Why not John join a medical degree?
That's a great option too. If John's passionate about direct patient care, pursuing a medical degree would be a powerful way to maximize his impact. It'd equip him with
See,
skills
I
to
think,
directly...
guys, I've got a O1 Pro. Perhaps this question is something I should ask O1 Pro. In fact, guys, let's ask O1 Pro, and then I'll put you the audio version of his answer. It might take a minute, but it's worth it. Yeah, and also, guys, just wait for me, cause yeah, I'm gonna kind of repeat some of these things. Okay. So, hey ChatGPT, I want you to create a simulation for us. Okay, imagine we have someone called John, who's 22 years old. So, John wants to provide maximum positive impact. It's John's sole complete goal. Okay, maximum positive impact for the world, for the environment, for humans, for animals, other animals, etc. So, my question is, how shall John do this? They're 22 years old. It depends on their genetics, strengths, and opportunities. So, John, let's say, is physically healthy, so they're not going to die in a year or so. John is in a country with no war, and John has opportunity for food, so John is not in poverty, water, housing, education, and John likes everything. John can get into any field that John wants to. So, intellectual fields such as healthcare, engineering, law, maybe artistic fields like art and music, or through some nature activity, or multidisciplinary things. So basically, John doesn't care about the path, just cares about maximum positive impact. So John would use anything. What should John choose based on this information, and also simulates for us his first year at 22 years old, what he should be doing. And then I want you to not only simulate his first year, but simulate also subsequent years. So year 2, year 3, year 4, etc., until year 10. And then just tell us what he should be aiming in year 15, year 20, and an end goal for his life. Yeah? Is that okay, ChatGPT? Okay, guys, I've submitted this. Let's see what ChatGPT says. It's going to take a while. I'm going to let it load, and then, guys, we can see what it says. I'm excited. Okay, having said that, let's get back to work. So, let's see if I can. open up a chat while that's doing its job. Yeah. Okay, ChatGPT. Let's continue now with the middle mediastinum and let's talk about the contents of the middle mediastinum.
All right. The middle mediastinum is the central part of the mediastinum, and it houses some key structures. The most important one is the heart, along with the pericardium, which is the sac surrounding the heart. Also, the roots of the great vessels, like the aorta, pulmonary artery, and the superior and inferior vena cava, are located here. Additionally, you'll find the tracheal bifurcation and main bronchi.
So we also have the phrenic nerve, right? And we mentioned the heart and the pericardium.
Exactly. The phrenic nerve runs through the middle mediastinum as well, providing motor innervation to the diaphragm. It's important for breathing.
It's a shame.
yes.
It's a shame that we're breaking it down like this, and we don't do systems thinking in this situation, because it would be easier, I feel. So let's go back to our diagram. So the aorta, the ascending aorta is in the middle mediastinum. What about the descending aorta?
The ascending aorta is indeed in the middle mediastinum, but as it arches and continues downward, it becomes the descending aorta, which is located in the posterior mediastinum. So, the aorta spans multiple sections.
And what about the pericardiophrenix artery?
The pericardiophrenix artery is a branch of the internal thoracic artery. It travels alongside the phrenic nerve, supplying blood to the pericardium and diaphragm. So, it runs through the middle mediastinum as well.
And the pulmonary trunk too.
Yep, the pulmonary artery also runs through the middle
Pulmonary
mediastinum.
trunk, I said.
The pulmonary artery branches into the left and right pulmonary
Pulmonary
arteries,
trunk.
The pulmonary trunk is the main vessel that exits the right ventricle of the heart. It then bifurcates into the left and right pulmonary arteries, directing deoxygenated blood to the lungs for oxygenation.
Mm-hmm.
You're welcome.
All right, let's continue.
Sure. What would you like to dive into next?
Would you agree that the heart has a kind of a pyramid shape, or no? I'm not sure.
Yeah, you could say the heart has a roughly pyramid shape, with its apex pointing down and to the left. The base is broader and located more towards the back.
And what are the surfaces of the heart?
The heart has several surfaces. The anterior or sternocostal surface faces the front. The diaphragmatic surface rests on the diaphragm, and the base is mainly the left atrium, facing the back.
That makes sense.
Glad it's making sense.
It almost feels like the heart should be. I wonder. This is a cool thing I was thinking. Like, I wonder, like, we have the heart in the middle of the body, kind of. But it's a bit closer to the brain. Is it because the brain needs more blood? And I was thinking, like, if we could create a mathematical equation where we get all the variables and we include them in it, and then that would explain the anatomical position of an organ, based basically on how much blood flow each organ needs.
That's an interesting thought. The positioning of organs is influenced by evolutionary and developmental factors, including efficiency in blood flow. The heart's central location allows for efficient distribution of blood throughout the body. While a mathematical model would be complex, it could definitely shed light on why organs are placed where they are.
So blood flow need is one factor. What other factors?
factors include organ function, space constraints, and developmental biology. For example, the lungs are near the heart for efficient oxygen exchange, and the liver's location supports its role in filtering blood from the digestive tract.
And which subject would be studying this? Systems biology?
Systems biology would definitely be the field studying these kinds of integrative approaches. It focuses on understanding complex interactions within biological systems, like how different organs and processes are interconnected.
And I feel this is a big problem in education right now. Like, specialization is amazing, but we've cut the communication between specialists.
That's a valid point.
Not in medicine. Like, in medicine, the specialists talk with each other, but like between fields, between engineering and medicine, let's say.
Absolutely. Interdisciplinary collaboration between fields like engineering and medicine can lead to innovative solutions, but it requires effective communication and mutual understanding. Encouraging more cross-disciplinary education could help bridge that gap.
It's almost looked down upon to do this multidisciplinary approach.
Yeah, there's often a traditional mindset favoring specialization, but more people are recognizing the value of multidisciplinary approaches in solving complex problems. It's slowly gaining traction.
Anyway, okay. So let's talk a bit about why the pericardium is important.
Sure, the pericardium is crucial because it protects the heart, reducing friction as the heart beats within the chest. It also helps prevent from overexpanding by limiting its space, maintaining optimal function.
Tell me more.
The pericardium also has two layers, the fibrous outer layer and the serous inner layer. The serous layer has fluid that reduces friction during heartbeats.
So does it prevent heart from overfilling?
Exactly. The fibrous layer limits excessive stretching, preventing the heart from overfilling with blood.
Okay. And what are these fibrous and serous layers?
The fibrous layer is tough and outermost, providing structure. The serous layer is inner, with two parts, the parietal layer lining the fibrous layer, and the visceral layer covering the heart. The space between them contains fluid for lubrication.
So fibrous is outside?
Exactly. The fibrous layer is the outermost part.
Okay. Guys, I need to put a pause to this session, but we will come with part 2 later today. Thanks for watching, and I see you soon. Also, you know what? Before we close, let's see what ChatGPT said about John.
All right. Sounds good. Looking forward to part 2.
Great, we have the answer. Can we put it on audio? Fuck, guys, this is a big answer. Wow.
Below is a possible simulation or scenario that imagines how John, a 22-year-old aiming for the maximum positive impact on the world, might chart his path. This scenario will start in year 1, age 22, and extend through year 10, with some broader goals for year 15, year 20, and an end-of-life vision. Of course, real life is unpredictable, and John might adjust as he learns more about himself, his environment, and changing global needs. But this exercise offers a structured roadmap. Guiding principles. 1. Effective altruism and high-impact focus. John wants to maximize positive impact in the world. One approach involves adopting principles from effective altruism, which emphasizes identifying the world's most pressing problems, e.g., climate change, global health, AI safety, biodiversity. Working in areas where John's contributions can have the greatest marginal benefit. Tracking and measuring impact, then recalibrating if necessary. 2. Leveraging personal strengths and opportunities. John lives in a stable environment with basic needs, food, water, shelter, education, met. He's physically healthy and open to any field. This gives him significant flexibility to pursue advanced degrees or specialized training, work directly in policy, research, or nonprofits, engage with high-impact innovation through entrepreneurship, technology, or science. 3. Building a foundation of knowledge and skills. Before taking big leaps, John should build up the expertise, network, and experiences that will amplify his impact over time. Year 1. Goals. Explore high-impact areas. John uses the first year to delve deeply into different fields, learning about the core challenges, career paths, and potential leverage points for positive change. Build skills and network. Start acquiring technical or professional skills, e.g. data analysis, project management, fundraising, policy analysis, that are valuable in many impact-focused roles. Possible actions. 1. Research and self-education. Take online courses, e.g. Coursera, edX, or local classes in fields of interest, global health, climate science, public policy, engineering for social good, etc. Read key books, follow notable experts, and engage in online communities, e.g. effective altruism forums, to discover pressing global issues. 2. Volunteer or intern. Join a local nonprofit or a research lab part-time or as a volunteer. Gain hands-on experience working with communities or conducting relevant research. Consider short-term, 3 to 6 month internships at different organizations, public health nonprofits, environmental advocacy groups, engineering labs working on sustainable technology. 3. Skill development. If leaning toward quantitative fields, improve data science, statistics, or programming skills. These are widely applicable in healthcare analytics, environmental modeling, etc. If leaning toward policy advocacy, strengthen communication, policy analysis, public speaking, and writing skills. If leaning toward creative artistic avenues, explore digital media, documentary filmmaking, or artistic activism to amplify important messages and campaigns. 4. Networking and mentorship. Attend conferences, seminars, or meetups on topics like social entrepreneurship, climate solutions, healthcare innovation. Seek mentorship from professors, experienced professionals, or leaders who can guide John's potential next steps. Year 2, age 23. Goals. Identify a primary focus. By the end of year 2, John should have a clearer idea which global issues or career paths resonate most strongly and where he can be most impactful. Gain more specialized experience. Start concentrating on a project or field to deepen expertise. Possible actions. 1. Select a path to specialize in. Examples might be global health, working on reducing preventable diseases, maternal health, or nutrition. Climate and environment, developing or implementing clean energy solutions, biodiversity conservation, or climate policy. Technology for social good, AI safety, open source tools for developing economies, or data-driven policy improvements. Policy and law, human rights advocacy, environmental law, international development policy. 2. Formal education degree, if needed. If the chosen field requires an advanced degree, e.g. environmental engineering, public health, law, year 2 can be spent applying to graduate programs or taking necessary prerequisites. Alternatively, if a traditional degree isn't needed, John might do an intensive boot camp or fellowship program, e.g. a coding boot camp focusing on data science, a social entrepreneurship fellowship. 3. Networking for future collaborations. Become more embedded in a community of like-minded individuals. This may involve attending specialized conferences or joining advanced projects where John can contribute in a meaningful way. Goals. Establish professional, academic path. Make a firm commitment to a career trajectory. Begin contributing at a higher level. If in grad school, focus research on high-impact problems. If working, focus on roles that offer maximum leverage, policy, R&D, etc. Possible actions. 1. If in graduate school, choose a thesis or research topic aligned with a global issue, e.g. designing sustainable energy systems, analyzing policy interventions for infectious disease prevention, etc. Connect with professors who have ties to major nonprofits, international agencies, or government bodies. 2. If working, aim for roles in organizations that measure impact rigorously. Could be in a large institution with global reach, e.g. WHO, UN environment programs, or a smaller high-impact startup. Focus on developing leadership and project ownership. Begin to demonstrate how John's initiatives drive real-world outcomes. 3. Build communication and leadership. Learn to effectively articulate ideas to non-experts, policymakers, and funders. Public speaking or communication training could be helpful. Year 4. Goals. Demonstrate impact. Contribute to or lead projects that have measurable outcomes, e.g., policy changes, successful pilot programs, new technological prototypes. Refine long-term mission. By now, John has a good sense of the problem landscape and his strengths. He can refine or pivot as needed. Possible actions. 1. Launch a pilot initiative. If John sees a gap in the market or a neglected area, he might launch a pilot project or social enterprise with the support of mentors/investors/grants. For instance, a clean tech solution for rural energy, a data analytics tool to help nonprofits track disease outbreaks, or a local incubator for climate-focused startups. 2. Scale up existing projects. If John is working in an organization, push for bigger responsibilities and broader reach. For instance, expand a water purification project from one village to many. 3. Solidify expertise. Keep learning. Advanced certifications, specialized courses, or cross-disciplinary learning, e.g., combining engineering with public policy. Year 5-6. Goals. Expand reach and influence. Aim to get more visibility for projects and ideas. Strategic partnerships. Collaborate with other experts, NGOs, governments, or private sectors for larger scale impact. Possible actions. 1. Conferences and publications. Present findings at relevant conferences, sustainability, global health summits, etc. Publish research or case studies on what works, building John's reputation as an expert. 2. Mentor others. Start mentoring younger or less experienced professionals, volunteers who are also passionate about impactful work. Join or form communities that share knowledge about best practices and challenges. 3. Explore funding avenues. Look into grants or philanthropic funding for scaling existing projects. Consider venture capital for social enterprises if a market-based approach is feasible. Year 6-10, ages 27 to 31. General goals. Leadership and scaling. Transition from early experimentation to leadership roles with broader oversight. Policy impact. Where possible, influence policy or large-scale implementations. Global collaboration. Move into arenas with international scope to address the largest, most neglected challenges. Possible year-by-year breakdown. Year 6-7, if in a research-oriented path, lead a lab or major initiative focusing on high-impact solutions. If in a policy or legal path, serve as an advisor to government bodies or guide high-level NGO strategy. If entrepreneurial, scale up a social enterprise that has proven effective. Year 8-9. Begin to measure and document outcomes for replicating successful models in other regions or sectors. Secure major partnerships or seats at decision-making tables, e.g., boards of NGOs, government task forces. Year 10. By age 31, John might be recognized as a leader in his niche. He could be heading a nonprofit, running an impactful social enterprise, or serving as a professor or advisor shaping global research agendas. Cultivate the next generation of change makers by formalizing training, internship, or fellowship programs. Year 15, age 36, vision and global strategy. John has a track record of successful initiatives and is in a position to articulate a broader vision for global impact. He might head or co-found a large-scale initiative, foundation, philanthropic fund, major NGO, influence international policy through bodies like the UN, WHO, or major governments. Serve as a key figure bridging academia, industry, and government for collaborative solutions. Nash Year 20, age 41, institutionalized impact. By now, John has built or heavily contributed to lasting institutions or networks. He's potentially recognized as a subject matter expert or social innovator on a global stage, funding, guiding, or shaping new research and interventions through philanthropic or investment arms. Ensuring sustainability of his projects beyond his direct involvement, i.e., they can continue if he steps away. End goal beyond 20 plus years. Legacy and systems change. Ideally, John's life's work will have contributed to meaningful shifts in how societies address big challenges. Possible end goals. Major policy changes enacted globally. Technological or scientific breakthroughs that drastically reduce suffering or environmental harm. A robust community of leaders and organizations continuing the mission John started. writing books, giving talks, or establishing endowments that support ongoing research innovation. Key takeaways. 1. Continuous learning and adaptation. John should always be ready to pivot as global priorities shift or new evidence emerges about effective interventions. 2. Collaboration and mentorship. Building a sustainable movement of others who share similar goals can amplify impact exponentially. 3. Measurable impact. A commitment to data, evidence, and results will ensure John's efforts create real change rather than just good intentions. 4. Personal well-being. To sustain effort over decades, John should maintain physical, mental, and emotional health, balancing his commitment to the cause with Below is a possible simulation or scenario that imagines how John, a 22-year-old aiming for the maximum positive impact on the...
Wait, I think so. Wow, first of all, guys, this was amazing. Like, I was shocked. This is gonna be my Bible now. Second, I'm not called John, by the way. And yeah, I think it didn't finish. I was thinking to ask it actually about emotional and mental health. So let's see what it said.
World might chart his path. This scenario will start in year 1, age 22, and extend through...
So I'm going to read the last bit for you again. So I'm going to read the last bit anyway. So, end goal, beyond 20 plus years. Legacy and systems change. Ideally, John's life work will have contributed to meaningful shifts in how societies address big challenges. Possible end goals, major policy changes enacted globally, technological or scientific breakthroughs that drastically reduce suffering or environmental harm, a robust community of leaders and organizations continuing the mission John started, writing books, giving talks, or establishing endowments that support ongoing research and innovation. Key takeaways: continuous learning and adaptation. John should always be ready to pivot as global priorities shift or new evidence emerges about effective interventions. Collaboration and mentorship. Building a sustainable movement of others who share similar goals can amplify impact exponentially. Measurable impact. A commitment to data, evidence, and results will ensure John's efforts create real change rather than just good intentions. Amazing. Personal well-being. To sustain effort over decades, John should maintain physical, mental, and emotional health, balancing his commitment to the cause with personal needs. This is something we have to ask it. Final thoughts. No single path guarantees maximum positive impact. There are countless routes to making the world better, but the overarching strategy is find a field with large-scale needs and the room for innovation. Develop expertise and leadership capacity, collaborate effectively, measure results, and adjust course. Build structures or institutions that last beyond one individual's lifetime. By following these principles and timelines, John can create a strong foundation for a life dedicated to doing good and ultimately leave an enduring positive mark on the world. So I have some questions for ChatGPT. ChatGPT, so tell us you already mentioned, good answer first of all. What are these fields with large scale needs and room for innovation? And show us a path we could take for these fields. What if John wants to do everything? What if John really enjoys learning about everything? How can he implement this into maximum positive impact, the interdisciplinary approach, while also developing the expertise? How can John collaborate effectively? How can John measure results, talk specifics? And how can John be adaptive based on the technology and how the world goes in the future, because we never know? And how does John build structures and institutions that last beyond his lifetime? And give us an example of this in the past, and give us examples of structures and institutions that John might build. Also, how can John handle his mental health and emotional health? What should he be doing? How can John embrace his curiosity of learning? How can John handle his autism and ADHD? And what should John do in regard to having friends and having family? Because John wants to have friends and a family to maintain mental and emotional health. So if you could answer these things too for us. Having said that, guys, I'm gonna close this live stream, and thanks for watching, and we'll learn what John says in another episode. And also, guys, I might just do a video of John, and if you like this type of John type videos, we might do them more in the future.